Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books here in the live studios. Radha Lane, ISKCON Houston, USA, and right down the steps from Sri Sri Radha Nila Madhava's beautiful form, altar, Sri Sri Gaurnitai, Giriraj Govardhan. Such a lovely setting, such a wonderful community of devotees. We've just had Janmashtami and then Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja ceremony, although I wasn't very happy that only 5 of us got to speak. That's going to change next year, or else I'm going on strike. Hare Krishna. Okay. Welcome all of you out there in cyberspace. We've launched into the 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and we're all really happy campers. And I'm sure you are too, those of you who follow along. Okay, before we do, let's read the famous prayer now. This prayer is becoming more famous by the month, right? Sanatana Goswami's Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam, to give us a little more vision into what we're doing. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwandodita Ditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin, Madguru Mad Mahadana, Mandistadaga Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute. Oh, my only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Saduta Dayin, Atini Chochata Kada, Hanamun Chagada Chinmam, Premna Rit Kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're on the 10th canto, first chapter. We're starting with text 25, the advent of Lord Sri Krishna. Introduction. 25. The potency of the Lord, known as Vishnu Maya, who is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will also appear with Lord Krishna. Now this is the message that was received from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu through Lord Brahma, now being spoken to the demigods. The potency of the Lord, known as Vishnu Maya, who is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will also appear with Lord Krishna. This potency, acting in different capacities, captivates all the worlds, both material and spiritual. at the request of her master, she will appear with her different potencies in order to execute the work of the Lord. Purport. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:8. In the Vedas it is said that the potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are called by different names, such as Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Ultimately, however, the Lord's potency is one, exactly as electric potency is one, although it can act both to cool and to heat. The Lord's potency acts in both the spiritual and material worlds. In the spiritual world, the Lord's potency works as Yogamaya, and in the material world, the same potency works as Mahamaya, exactly as electricity works in both a heater and a cooler. Please come in. What's your name?
Marcos.
Marcos, it's a pleasure to meet you. Me alegro de verte. Hare Krishna. The Universal Mother. The Lord's potency acts in both the spiritual and material worlds. In the spiritual world, the Lord's potency works as Yogamaya, and in the material world, the same potency works as Mahamaya, exactly as electricity works in both a heater and a cooler. In the material world, this potency, working as Mahamaya, acts upon the conditioned souls to deprive them more and more of devotional service. It is said, Yaya samohito jiva atmanam tri gunatmakam. In the material world, the conditioned soul thinks of himself as a product of triguna, the three modes of material nature. This is the bodily conception of life. Because of associating with the three gunas of the material potency, everyone identifies himself with his body. Someone is thinking that he is a Brahmana, someone a Kshatriya, someone a Vaishya, or Shudra. Actually, however, one is neither a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, nor a Shudra. One is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mamai Vangshaha. But because of being covered by the material energy, Mahamaya, one identifies himself in these different ways. When the conditioned soul becomes liberated, however, he thinks himself an eternal servant of Krishna. Jivira Surupa Hoya Krishnara Nityadas. When he comes to that position, the same potency, acting as Yogamaya, increasingly helps him become purified and devote his energy to the service of the Lord. In either case, whether the soul is conditioned or liberated, the Lord is supreme. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. It is by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the material energy, Mahamaya, works upon the conditioned soul. Prakrite Kriyamanaini Gunai Karmani Sarvashaha Ahankara Vimudatma Kartaham Iti Manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Within conditioned life, no one has freedom, but because one is bewildered, being subject to the rule of Mahamaya, one foolishly thinks himself independent. Ahankara vibhudatma, kartaham iti manyate. But when the conditioned soul becomes liberated by executing devotional service, he is given a greater and greater chance to relish a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different transcendental statuses, such as Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. Thus the Lord's potency, Vishnu Maya, has two features, Aranavika, Abhinarika, and Unmukha. When the Lord appeared, his potency came with him and acted in different ways. She acted as Yogamaya with Yashoda, Devaki, and other intimate relations of the Lord, and she acted in a different way with Kamsa, Shalva, and other asuras. By the order of Lord Krishna, his potency, Yogamaya, came with him and exhibited different activities according to the time and circumstances. Karyarte sambhavishyati. Yogamaya acted differently to execute different purposes desired by the Lord. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. The Mahatmas, who fully surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, are directed by Yogamaya, whereas the Duratmas, those who are devoid of devotional service, are directed by Mahamaya. Text 26. Shukadeva Goswami continued, after thus advising the demigods and pacifying Mother Earth, the very powerful Lord Brahma, who is the master of all other Prajapatis and therefore known as Prajapati Pati, returned to his own abode, Brahmaloka. Text 27. Formerly, Shurasena, the chief of the Yadu dynasty, had gone to live in the city of Mathura. There he enjoyed the places known as Mathura and Shurasena. Text 28. Since that time, the city of Mathura had been the capital of all the kings of the Yadu dynasty. The king and district of Mathura are very intimately connected with Krishna, for Lord Krishna lives there eternally. Purport. It is understood that Mathura city is the transcendental abode of Lord Krishna. It is not an ordinary material city, for it is eternally connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vrindavan is within the jurisdiction of Mathura, and it still continues to exist. Because Mathura and Vrindavan are intimately connected with Krishna eternally, it is said that Lord Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Vrindavanam prityaja padam ekam nagachyate. At present, the place known as Vrindavan in the district of Mathura continues its position as a transcendental place, and certainly anyone who goes there becomes transcendently purified. So we live in Govardhan, and the postal code is 281502, and it's the district of Mathura. It's written right in the address, District Mathura. Confirmed here. Navadvip Dham is also intimately connected with Brajabhumi. Srila Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Shri Gauda Mandala Bhumi Yeba Jani Chintamani Tarahaya Brajabhumi Vasha. Brajabhumi refers to Mathura Vrindavan, and Gauda Mandala Bhumi includes Navadvip. These two places are non-different. Therefore, anyone living in Navadvip, knowing Krishna and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to be the same personality, lives in Vrindavan, Mathura Vrindavan. The Lord has made it convenient for the conditioned soul to live in Mathura, Vrindavan, and Navadvip, and thus be directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply by living in these places, one can immediately come in contact with the Lord. There are many devotees who vow never to leave Vrindavan and Mathura. This is undoubtedly a good vow, but if one leaves Vrindavan, Mathura, or Navadvip Dham for the service of the Lord, he is not disconnected from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At any rate, we must understand the transcendental importance of Mathura Vrindavan and Navadvip Dham. Anyone who executes devotional service in these places certainly goes back home, back to Godhead, after giving up his body. Thus the words, Mathura Bhagavan Yatra Nityam Sanihito Harihi, are particularly important. A devotee should fully realize this instruction to the best of his ability. Whenever the Supreme Lord personally appears, he appears in Mathura because of his intimate connection with this place. Therefore, although Mathura and Vrindavan are situated on this planet Earth, they are transcendental abodes of the Lord. Text 29. Some time ago, Vasudeva, who belonged to the demigod family or to the Shura dynasty, married Devaki. After the marriage, he mounted his chariot to return home with his newly married wife. Text 30. Kamsa, the son of King Ugrasena, in order to please his sister Devaki, on the occasion of her marriage, took charge of the reins of the horses and became the chariot driver. He was surrounded by hundreds of golden chariots. 32, 31 and 32. Devaki's father, King Devaka, was very much affectionate to his daughter. Therefore, while she and her husband were leaving home, he gave her a dowry of 400 elephants, nicely decorated with golden garlands. He also gave 10,000 horses, 1,800 chariots, and 200 very beautiful young maidservants, fully decorated with ornaments. Purport. The system of giving a dowry to one's daughter has existed in Vedic civilization for a very long time. Even today, following the same system, a father who has money will give his daughter an opulent dowry. A daughter would never inherit the property of the father, and therefore an affectionate father, during the marriage of his daughter, would give her as much as possible. A dowry, therefore, is never illegal according to the Vedic system. Here, of course, the gift offered as a dowry by Devaka to Devaki was not ordinary. Because Devaki was a king, he gave a dowry quite suitable to his royal position. Even an ordinary man, especially a high-class Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya, is supposed to give his daughter a liberal dowry. Immediately after the marriage, the daughter goes to the husband's house, and it is also a custom for the brother of the bride to accompany his sister and brother-in-law to exhibit affection for her. This system was followed by Kamsa. These are all old customs in the society of Varnashram Dharma, which is now wrongly designated as Hindu. These long-standing customs are nicely described here. 33. O beloved son, Maharaj Parikshit, when the bride and bridegroom were ready to start, conch shells, bugles, mridanga drums, and kettle drums all vibrated in concert for their auspicious departure. 34. While Kamsa, controlling the reins of the horses, were driving the chariot along the way, an unembodied voice addressed him, "You foolish rascal, the 8th child of the woman you are carrying will kill you." Purport. The omen spoke of Ashtamo Garbha, referring to the 8th pregnancy, but did not clearly say whether the child was to be a son or a daughter. Even if Kamsa were to see that the 8th child of Devaki was a daughter, he should have no doubt that the 8th child was to kill him. According to the Vishwakosha dictionary, the word Garbha means embryo, and also Arbaka, child or child. Kamsa was affectionate toward his sister, and therefore he had become the chariot driver to carry her and his brother-in-law to their home. The demigods, however, did not want Kamsa to be affectionate toward Devaki, and therefore from an unseen position they encouraged Kamsa to offend her. Moreover, the 6 sons of Marichi had been cursed to take birth from the womb of Devaki, and upon being killed by Kamsa, they would be delivered. When Devaki understood that Kamsa would be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would appear from her womb, she felt great joy. The word vahase is also significant because it indicates that the ominous vibration condemned Kamsa for acting just like a beast of burden by carrying his enemy's mother. Text 35. Kamsa was a condemned personality in the Bhoja dynasty because he was envious and sinful. Therefore, upon hearing this omen from the sky, he caught hold of his sister's hair with his left hand and took up his sword with his right hand to sever her head from her body. Purport. Kamsa was driving the chariot and controlling the reins with his left hand, but as soon as he heard the omen that his sister's 8th child would kill him, he gave up the reins, caught hold of his sister's hair, and with his right hand took up a sword to kill her. Before, he had been so affectionate that he was acting as his sister's chariot driver, but as soon as he heard that his self-interest or his life was at risk, he forgot all affection for her and immediately became a great enemy. This is the nature of demons. No one should trust a demon, despite any amount of affection. Aside from this, a king, a politician, or a woman cannot be trusted, since they can do anything abominable for their personal interest. Chanakya Pandit therefore says, Vishwaso naiva kartavyak strishu raja kuleshu cha. Text 36. Wanting to pacify Kamsa, who was so cruel and envious that he was shamelessly ready to kill his sister, the great soul Vasudeva, who was to be the father of Krishna, spoke to him in the following words. Purport. Vasudeva who was to be the father of Krishna is described here as Mahabhaga, a very upright and sober personality. Because although Kamsa was ready to kill Vasudeva's wife, Vasudeva remained sober and unagitated. In a peaceful attitude, Vasudeva began to address Kamsa by putting forward reasonable arguments. Vasudeva was a great personality because he knew how to pacify a cruel person and how to forgive even the bitterest enemy. One who is fortunate is never caught, even by tigers or snakes. Text 37. Vasudeva said, My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the pride of your family, the Bhoja dynasty, and great heroes praise your qualities. How could such a qualified person as you kill a woman, your own sister, especially on the occasion of her marriage? Purport. According to Vedic principles, a Brahmana, an old man, a woman, a child, or a cow cannot be killed under any circumstance. Vasudeva stressed that Devaki was not only a woman, but a member of Kamsa's family. Because she was now married to Vasudeva, she was parastri, another man's wife. And if such a woman were killed, not only would Kamsa be implicated in sinful activities, but his reputation as king of the Bhoja dynasty would be damaged. Thus Vasudeva tried in many ways to convince Kamsa in order to stop him from killing Devaki. Text 38. O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Purport. Vasudeva wanted to impress upon Kamsa that although Kamsa feared dying and therefore wanted to kill even a woman, he could not avoid death. Death is sure. Why then should Kamsa do something that would be detrimental to his reputation and that of his family? As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 2.27, Jata si hi druvor mityur Dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyerte natvam sho chitam arasi. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. One should not fear death. Rather, one should prepare himself for the next birth. One should utilize one's time in this human form to end the process of birth and death. It is not that to save oneself from death, one should entangle oneself in sinful activities. This is not good. Text 39. When the present body turns to dust and is again reduced to 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the proprietor of the body, the living being, automatically receives another body of material elements according to his fruitive activities. When the next body is obtained, he gives up the present body. Purport. Dehinos minyata dehe kaumaram javanam jara tatatihantada praptir didastatra namuyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Gita 2:13. A person or an animal is not the material body. Rather, the material body is the covering of a living being. The Bhagavad Gita compares the body to a dress and elaborately explains how one changes dresses one after another. The same Vedic knowledge is confirmed here. The living being, the soul, is constantly changing bodies one after another. Even in the present life, the body changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, and from youth to old age. Similarly, when the body is too old to continue, the living being gives up this body and by the laws of nature automatically gets another body according to his fruitive activities, desires, and ambitions. The laws of nature control this sequence, and therefore, as long as the living entity is under the control of the external material energy, the process of bodily change takes place automatically, according to one's fruitive activities. Vasudeva therefore wanted to impress upon Kamsa that if he committed this sinful act of killing a woman, in his next life he would certainly get a material body, still more conditioned to the sufferings of material existence. Thus Vasudeva advised Kamsa not to commit sinful activities. One who commits sinful activities because of ignorance, tamaguna, obtains a lower body. Karanam gunasangosya sadasat joni janmasu. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. There are hundreds and thousands of different species of life. Why are there higher and lower bodies? One receives these bodies according to the contaminations of material nature. If in this life one is contaminated by the mode of ignorance and sinful activities, duskriti, in the next life by the laws of nature, one will certainly get a body full of suffering. The laws of nature are not subservient to the whimsical desires of the conditioned soul. Our endeavor, therefore, should be to associate always with sattva guna and not indulge in rajaguna or tamoguna, rajas tamo bhava. Lusty desires and greed keep the living entity perpetually in ignorance and prevent him from being elevated to the platform of sattva guna or shuddha sattva guna. One is advised to be situated in shuddha sattva guna, devotional service, for thus one is immune to the reactions of the 3 modes of material nature. Text 40. Just as a person traveling on the road rests one foot on the ground and then lifts the other, or as a worm on a vegetable transfers himself from one leaf and then gives up the previous one, the conditioned soul takes shelter of another body and then gives up the one he had before. Purport. This is the process of the soul's transmigration from one body to another. At the time of death, according to his mental condition, the living being is carried by the subtle body, consisting of mind, intelligence, and ego, to another gross body. When higher authorities have decided what kind of gross body the living entity will have, he is forced to enter such a body, and thus he automatically gives up his previous body. Dull-minded persons who do not have the intelligence to understand this process of transmigration take it for granted that when the gross body is finished, one's life is finished forever. Such persons have no brains with which to understand the process of transmigration. At the present moment, there's great opposition to the Hare Krishna movement, which is being called a brainwashing movement. But actually, the so-called scientists, philosophers, and other leaders in the Western countries have no brains at all. Prabhupada. The Hare Krishna movement is trying to elevate such foolish persons by enlightening their intelligence so that they will take advantage of the human body. In other words, it's giving them a brain. Unfortunately, because of gross ignorance, they regard the Hare Krishna movement as a brainwashing movement. They do not know that without God consciousness, one is forced to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Or another times, Prabhupada says, we're washing their brain. They're right. Their brain is full of cow dung, and we're washing it. Because of their devilish brains, they will next be forced to accept an abominable life and practically never be able to liberate themselves from the conditioned life of material existence. How this transmigration of the soul takes place is very clearly explained in this verse. Text 41. Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation, and thus one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances, in different bodies, and forgets his actual position. Under the same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another, tata, dihantara prapti. Purport. Transmigration of the soul is very clearly explained in this verse. One sometimes forgets his present body and thinks of his childhood body, a body of the past, and of how one was playing, jumping, talking, and so on. When the material body is no longer workable, it becomes dust, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. But when the body again mixes with the five material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the mind continues to work. The mind is the subtle substance in which the body is created, as we actually experience in our dreams, and also when we are awake in contemplation. One must understand that the process of mental speculation develops a new type of body that does not actually exist. If one can understand the nature of the mind, manoratena, and its thinking, feeling, and willing, one can very easily understand from the mind different types of bodies develop. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, offers a process of transcendental activities wherein the mind is fully absorbed in affairs pertaining to Krishna. The presence of the soul is perceived by consciousness. and one must purify his consciousness from material to spiritual, or in other words, to Krishna consciousness. That which is spiritual is eternal, and that which is material is temporary. Without Krishna consciousness, one's consciousness is always absorbed in temporary things. For everyone, therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita 3:34, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. One should always be absorbed in thought of Krishna. One should become his devotee. One should always engage in his service and worship him as the supreme great. And one should always offer him obeisances. In the material world, one is always a servant of a greater person. And in the spiritual world, our constitutional position is to serve the Supreme, the greatest, Param Brahma. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Suruphoya Krishnara Nityadas. To act in Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life and the highest perfection of yoga. As Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 6:47, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenan taratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam sema same yuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. The condition of the mind, which flickers between sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting something and rejecting it, is very important in transferring the soul to another material body at the time of death. Yam yam vapis maran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Bhagavad Gita 8:6. Therefore one must train the mind in the system of Bhakti Yoga, as did Maharaj Ambarish, who kept himself always in Krishna consciousness. Savai mana Krishna padada vindayo. One must fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If the mind is fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet, the activities of the other senses will be engaged in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. To serve Rishikesha, the master of the senses, with purified senses, is called bhakti. Those who constantly engage in devotional service are situated in a transcendental state, above the material modes of nature. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 14:26, Mam chayo vyabhicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati jaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One must learn the secret of success from the Vedic literatures, especially when the cream of Vedic knowledge is presented by the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because the mind is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the word apasmriti is significant. Forgetfulness of one's own identity is called apasmriti. Amnesia. That's my word, sorry. This apasmriti can be controlled by the Supreme Lord, for the Lord says, Mattak smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real position, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death, even though the mind may be flickering. Even though the mind may be what?
Flickering.
So even in death, we shouldn't think that just by your own strength you're going to be able to. Krishna has to help. So if you try your whole life, then Krishna's there. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, protect you. There's an insurance company, the motto in India, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Did you know that? There's an insurance company, and the motto of the insurance company is Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Don't worry, we'll protect you. Of course they can't, but they got that from Krishna. What they're really trying to tell him is Krishna can protect you. Okay. So, I'll read this again. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real position, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death, even though the mind may be flickering. Although the mind may work imperfectly at the time of death, Krishna gives a devotee shelter at his lotus feet. Therefore, when a devotee gives up the body, the mind does not take him to another material body. Jaktodeham punarjanma naiti mam, 80. Rather, Krishna takes the devotee to that place where Krishna is engaged in his pastimes, mam 80, as we have already discussed in previous verses. One's consciousness, therefore, must always be absorbed in Krishna, and then one's life will be successful. Otherwise, the mind will carry the soul to another material body. The soul will be placed in the semen of a father and discharged into the womb of a mother. The semen and ovum create a particular type of body according to the form of the father and mother. And when the body is mature, the soul emerges in that body and begins a new life. And begins a new life. This is the process of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Tata dihantara prapti. Unfortunately, those who are less intelligent thinks that when the body disappears, everything is finished. The entire world is being misled by such fools and rascals. But as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2:20, Hanyate Hanyamane Sharire, the soul does not die when the body is destroyed. Rather, the soul takes on another body. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 42. At the time of death, according to the thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind, which is involved in fruitive activities, one receives a particular body. In other words, the body develops according to the activities of the mind. Imagine, this is Vasudeva speaking to Kamsa, who's got a sword in his hand, just about ready to cut off Devi's head. Now that's what you call dhira. And Kamsa's waiting, he's listening to all this. It's very difficult to understand the potency of a pure devotee, just freezing his arm with the sound. Real philosophy. At the time of death, according to the thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind, which is involved in fruitive activities, one receives a particular body. In other words, the body develops according to the activities of the mind. Changes of the body are due to the flickering of the mind, for otherwise the soul could remain in its original spiritual body. Purport. One can very easily understand that the mind is constantly flickering. Who can't understand that? Can everyone understand that? The body is always flickering. Therefore, Prabhupada said this is science. It's not that because you have this religion or this kind of body or that kind of body, from this race or that race, this color of skin, that color of skin, it doesn't make any difference. Mind is flickering constantly, changing in the quality of its thinking, feeling, and willing. This is explained by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita 16:34. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balabhadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sudushkaram. The mind is chanchala, flickering, and it changes very strongly. Therefore, Arjuna admitted that controlling the mind is not at all possible. This would be as difficult as controlling the wind. For example, if one were in a boat moving according to the wind on a river or the sea, and the wind were uncontrollable, the tilting boat would be very much disturbed and extremely difficult to control. It might even capsize. Therefore, in the Bhava Samudra, the ocean of mental speculation and transmigration to different types of bodies, one must first control the mind. By regulated practice, one can control the mind. And this is the purpose of the yoga system. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. But there is a chance of failure with the yoga system, especially in this age of Kali, because the yoga system uses artificial means. If the mind is engaged in bhakti yoga, however, by the grace of Krishna, one can very easily control it. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam. One should chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, for the holy name of the Lord is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Person. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra constantly, one can fix the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, Savai Mana Krishna Padada Vindayo, and in this way achieve the perfection of yoga. Otherwise, the flickering mind will hover on the platform of mental speculation for sense enjoyment, and one will have to transmigrate from one type of body to another, because the mind is trained only in relation to the material elements, or in other words, to sense gratification, which is false. Maya Sukhaya Baram Udbahato Vimudan. Rascals, Vimudhan, being controlled by mental speculation, make huge arrangements by which to enjoy life temporarily, but they must give up the body at the time of death, even when everything is taken away by Krishna's external energy, Mrityu, Sarva, Harash, Chaham. At that time, whatever one has created in this life is lost, and one must automatically accept a new body by the force of material nature. In this life, one may have constructed a very tall skyscraper, but in the next life, because of one's mentality, one may have to accept a body like that of a cat, a dog, a tree, or perhaps a demigod. Thus the body is offered by the laws of material nature. Karanam gunasangosya sarasat yonijanmasu. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. The spirit soul takes birth in higher and lower species of life only because of his association with the three qualities of material nature. Urdvam gachanti satvasta madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya guna britista ado gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. In the mode of passion, those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. 14:18, Bhagavad Gita. In conclusion, the Krishna consciousness movement offers the topmost welfare activity for human society. The saner section of human society must therefore take this movement very seriously for the benefit of all humanity. To save oneself from the repetition of birth and death, one must purify his consciousness. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat padatbena nirmalam. One must be freed from all designations. I am American, I am Indian, I am this, I am that, and come to the platform of understanding that Krishna is the original master, and we are his eternal servants. When the senses are purified, engaged in Krishna's service, one achieves the highest perfection. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. The Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of Bhakti Yoga, Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. By following the principles of this movement, one becomes disassociated from material mental concoctions and is established on the original platform of the eternal relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead as servant and master. This, in summary, is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here we are, 10th canto, and what are we hearing about? How we're not the body, what the process of transmigration is, and how to stop it. So it's all through the Bhagavatam, from beginning to end, because we're so attached and so influenced by time and the modes of nature. So to be able to remember it, to be convinced, so that we will try to forget it. Prabhupada has so mercifully given his Bhaktivedanta purports on the subject. Okay, we're going to stop there, reading, and turn it over to you guys for the open mic reflection time. Sarva's got his hand up.
This is just a question based on one devotee who is sort of a friend of the temple from years back. I hadn't seen him in a long time. He came the other day.
Oh.
And he seemed like he's had bad association. He was saying that he likes prasadam, he likes devotees, but he doesn't have faith in any religion. And he was saying something like, he can't remember his last life, and he won't remember his next life, so he doesn't... I didn't really follow his logic, but he just was saying that because he doesn't know what his last life, and because he doesn't remember it, he doesn't think he could learn anything from it. So it's kind of I didn't give him great answers. I just wondered if you could, how you might address such a question. Or
Yes, here's how we would address it. Just keep on eating Krishna prasadam.
He likes prasadam.
Because he likes prasadam, but he can tell the difference between prasadam and ordinary food. And Prabhupada said, if someone can't understand anything, just keep feeding him prasadam and getting them to chant Hare Krishna. That's it. Because if you start to talk philosophy, especially deep philosophy like we do here in this group, they will run away, and even they can become turned off. So it's not that Krishna consciousness is everyone for everybody. It is, ultimately it is, because everyone's a soul. But it's not that everyone can understand this philosophy. Prabhupada said, therefore, feed him with Krishna prasadam. If he can understand, if I would have been there, if I were to talk to him, I would say, why do you like prasadam? Now, be honest. Why do you like prasadam? Oh, it tastes good. Why does it taste particularly good? Oh yeah, it tastes particularly good. Then you can see the difference between ordinary food and prasadam. Oh yeah, I can see that. That's the only way I can see in to a person who's that dull, you know. Of course, you can always give the argument, the argument that Krishna gives to Arjuna, the argument that Prabhupada gave to us and everyone. You know that your body has changed. You know that in this life your body has changed. So your body is changing, and you're the same person. So why couldn't there be another body? You had a baby body. Where is it now? You had a young boy or girl's body. Where is it now? So the evidence is there. It's a matter of how we're evaluating the evidence. If you're an animal and you've got no human intelligence to be able to evaluate that evidence, then of course you won't be able to understand. I mean, I wouldn't call him an animal to his face. That wouldn't be very good. That would probably turn him off even more. But you know.
Yeah, he actually did quite a bit of service in the past in different ways for the movement without being a full-time devotee. He did different things, and he had some good experience in Krishna consciousness, but he just seems like he's not fully convinced. So Prashadam is a good...
Yeah,
You
keep eating and ask him to still do things, because if he's done things for Krishna, that because everyone likes to do something. Everyone likes to contribute. It's a nature of the soul, nature of all of human beings to try to help other people. And if they're demons, like really a demon, then they probably wouldn't be attracted. Remember when Duryodhana offered Krishna to come over and have a huge feast before the... what was the timing of that? He was... Remember what the timing was? I think it was he was trying to woo Krishna to his side before the battle of Krishna, something like that. And Krishna refused to go and take what he was eating. Anyway, that's what I would have said. Of course, there's many more things. If you already know him and he's been around for a while and he's a devotee, then of course you say so many other things. You don't want to just be dry, you know.
He still comes to the temple when he's in town, and so he has some faith, but he's not fully there. Anyway.
What can we do? We try our best. We have to try our best. I mean, I've developed over the years a philosophy to invest my energy, to invest my energy where it's going to, get the return.
Yeah.
Rather than just keep giving energy, and not you lose your energy like that. People take your energy, but if people, when they respond and they're positive and they like it, and you can talk to them, and then everybody gets energy from that.
He said he had talked to some devotees who had different kind of philosophies, of a little bit deviation.
There you go. Go onto the internet and
which must have affected
you. Surf the web, and you'll find all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't surrender to Krishna. Why you shouldn't, accept anybody as an authority. I mean, Krishna's pretty clear, you have to surrender. So either you surrender voluntarily, or nobody's free, to do whatever they want. Otherwise the world would be a different place. If everyone was free to do whatever they want, it would be a pretty different world, don't you think? Again, it's how we evaluate the evidence that's clear in front of our faces. And then you try, and then if they can't take it, that's up to them. That's their God-given right. What else? Dr. Doug.
This is from Vijay Govinda Das.
Hey Vijay, Haribo.
Says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you for another wonderful reading. I love when I can hear it live, even though I stay up late to hear. Could you kindly elaborate on the meaning of sankalpa as mentioned in purport? It seems to have slightly different meanings in different contexts. Maybe that is my misunderstanding.
Sankalpa means your desire. Sankalpa means you don't, when you desire something or you're planning something, you don't desire to run your car off a cliff. That's the other, what was the other? Pratikalpa.
Vikalpa?
Vikalpa. Sankalpa, vikalpa. Favorable, unfavorable. So sankalpa means you before you do something, you sankalpa. You make your desire, your determination, what you would like to do, like that. And it's always favorable, the sankalpa. Vikalpa is unfavorable. So you try to, the human form of life is one that can try to maximize the sankalpa and minimize the vikalpa. And in the process of surrender, it's the first two stages of surrender. You accept those things that are favorable to the growth of your Krishna consciousness, and you reject those things that are unfavorable to the growth of your Krishna consciousness, the things that interfere, that cause doubt, that like the example that Sarva was giving of this person. We should associate with those who are positive and favorable. And if you associate always with those who are always kvetching, kvetching is a Jewish word. Kvetching means always complaining, always finding faults and reasons to feel bad. And if the mind is like that, we just read it, according to the mind. If the mind is in Krishna consciousness, then you will perform devotional service. If your mind's thinking about Krishna, if it's always complaining and then thinking about in ways that reduces faith in our own self, in the process of devotional service, in others, then you will just live a miserable life. So sankalpa is the way forward. Vikalpa is the way backward. If you want to go forward, you put your car in, gear. You don't put it in reverse. If you want to go this way, you put it in reverse and you go that way.
He has an appreciation as well.
Hey! What are you playing, golf or something? No? Just a fancy glove? It's not some kind of special game or something? Soccer? But I thought you weren't supposed to hit the ball with your hand when you play soccer. Goalie. The goalies can touch the ball with their hand. Oh yeah. Did you win? Uh-oh. Next time. Hare Krishna. Dr. Damodar, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thanks, okay. Okay, what else?
He also had an appreciation. He says a short story of Buddha. He says that one should meditate for 15 minutes each day, and if you haven't got 15 minutes, then meditate for 30 minutes. This story reflected in Krishna consciousness. If one thinks that they have heard enough of "you're not the body," then they actually need to hear that message more.
There you go. I have another twist on that. My thing is that if you don't like to hear something that's true, then there's something wrong with you. Even though you've heard it again and again, if it's true, why should you object to hearing it? It's very clear. If somebody objects to hearing it, that means they don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want to think it. They want to think something else. What else? Yes, Doug.
I just wanted to mention and ask you about Kamsa's behavior, how it was just such an immediate drastic shift. Well, one moment he's being this loving brother, taking his sister to the home of her husband together, and then all of a sudden he hears this voice. I don't know if anybody else heard it or not, or just him, and then immediately he turns, grabs her hair, and pulls a sword out, ready to kill her. So what is the reason for this?
The demoniac nature.
Okay.
As soon as a demoniac person is threatened, he will act like that. Or if you try to give a demoniac person good advice, he'll just get angry. There's certain you can read about it in the 16th chapter of the Gita, all the qualities analyzed thoroughly of the demoniac nature. If someone threatens, immediately enemy, friends, enemy. If one's doing something, that I like and it's, flattering me, then I'm the friend. Don't agree with me, enemy. And this, of course, was it's a part of Krishna's pastime as well. It's not ordinary that a voice comes from the sky to tell a person what's going to happen in the future. That's not ordinary. So, he was taking that very seriously. That's why he took those extreme. And we'll learn anyway. Don't want to spoil the next part. Isn't it amazing how Krishna consciousness, this story, you can hear this story again and again, and it just gets better and better and more interesting and more exciting and more. It's amazing. This is also the evidence. I keep making this point. For 47 years I've been making this point to every single new person I meet, everyone I meet. The evidence is there. It's how we evaluate the evidence. How deeply we can accept and change. Yes, Sarva.
That mysterious voice that came to Kamsa, can you say anything about the voice?
Do I say it was disembodied?
Right.
There was no body, it was just a voice.
Whose voice was it? We don't see the body, but...
Well, it doesn't say who it was. Yes. I mean, it may somewhere in the Puranas, I haven't kind of come across it.
Yeah. Well, just a little more information. I believe in the purport, Prabhupada said it was the demigods.
Yes.
So he didn't say which specific demigod, but...
Well, we can understand one thing. I mean, Narada Muni, it wasn't Narada Muni. The disembodied voice wasn't Narada Muni. But Narada Muni has that kind of nature. He shows up at just the right time when everybody thinks it's going good. Like he came to Kansa later on, and he was always, don't feel so. Actually, he's there, and this is what's going to happen. Because they're all trying to precipitate Krishna's coming sooner. The demigods are trying to precipitate Krishna's coming sooner. So this is part of the ploy of the demigods. Because what Krishna said. We just heard Krishna said, okay, the demigods should come and help. So this is the demigods coming and helping in that way, to precipitate. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go now because I have something to do that I have to do. I was kind of trying to stop early today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carlos, for coming. Do you have any questions or anything? Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Please come back again. This is your family. There's so much nonsense out there in the material world right now. So much hate and violence and political, nonsense. But this is Krishna's family. We're all coming from Krishna, and therefore we're all in the same family. Here you can taste it. Hare Krishna. All right, Shri Krishna ki jai, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari. Thank you very much. We should have.